And we're back, but right now on the phone with me, I have current musical director of Lionel Richie's tour, and this man was also, I believe, musical director for Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation tour, and he has written songs for the likes of Troop, my favorite group of all time, with Spread My Wings, classic joint. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuckii Booker. Chuckii, welcome to the Time Machine, my man.
Thank you, man. I'm really glad to be here. I really am.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview.
Oh, man, anytime, man. Anytime you call, I'll be right there, man.
All right, let's go ahead and get this started. How did you fall in love with music, and what inspired you to start picking up the various instruments that you know how to play?
Well, I think it started for me at a very early age, like about 3 or 4, actually. My entire family is musically inclined, from my mother to my grandmother. They played in church, and they played organ and piano. So it was just a matter of time for me to, growing up, I was just hanging around them and got into it, got into church, played in church. And, from that point on, it just went further. It just went into, having my own band in school, high school. And then from that point, I just took it up doing top 40 stuff at clubs. And, just one thing led to another. And, that's pretty much how it started for me.
Okay, and explain to me the relationship that you had with your godfather, the late, great Barry White, and some of the pointers that he gave you starting out.
Wow, yeah. You know what? That is, I would think, the most important part of my life was, as far as music, was meeting him. I met him when I was 12. And I would have to say I've learned everything from arranging to writing to publishing, not just stuff that's considered a part of music in general, but behind the scenes, that to me is very important, especially for these young kids to know. You got to know behind the scenes and knowing what's going on with the behind the scenes of the business. That is more important than anything. Anybody can sing, anybody can play, but it's all about how you conduct your business outside of that. That was one of the most prolific things that Barry taught me, as a kid. You got to take care of your business when it comes to your music. And, that's pretty much it, man.
So what was the beginning period like starting out before getting your record deal with Atlantic?
It started actually around 1987. I actually did a song for Vanessa Williams. She had a song out called The Right Stuff. And a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually one of the co-producers on that record. And that's pretty much how I got my start. I did a lot of the musical arrangements on that particular song, and that was in 1987. And from that point, I left and went to go work with Gerald Albright, who was a great jazz saxophonist. And at that time, he was on Atlantic Records. And I worked on his very first album, and I did a couple of songs. And from that point, Sylvia Rohn, who was head of black music at that time at Atlantic, contacted me and through Gerald. And she says, hey, I like, what you're doing and, your style of production. And I have these guys out of Pasadena, California that I really wanted you to work with. And I was like, great. She says, I think they're going to be big and they're energetic and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, bring them out. And at that time, the name of the group was called The Guys. And I met Steve Russell, and, I met all the guys in the band and started working with them, as well as Gerald Levert was working with them as well. So that's kind of like how I got started into doing my thing, was by starting with Troop at that particular time. And then one thing led to another, and Sylvia had asked me, you know what, you did all this stuff on, these guys or whatever. How about doing your own project? And I really wasn't too into doing that. I never wanted to be like an upfront, a lead singer, or being an artist per se. But I felt that if I did it, it would kind of get my name out there as a writer and as a producer. So that was the only reason why that I did it. It wasn't so much that I wanted to be up front. It was just that, okay, hey, if I can get my name out and get people to hear what I'm doing, then that could, hopefully eventually lead to other things outside of that, as far as production and writing and, musical directing. And so far, it pretty much it did that for me.
So let's go ahead and talk about you working on Troop's self-titled debut album, which also came out in '87, which had the hit singles Mamacita, My Heart, and the underrated classic Still in Love.
Yes, that was a great record, man. I had so much fun working with those guys. I mean, Troop, to me, at that, I mean, they were so young, but they were very polished. And a lot of people don't know that, you know, groups like Troop and New Edition, you know, they put in a lot of work. You know, they put in so much work. And for me to work with them as a first time as like a new producer, you know, working with these young guys who had never been out, you know, it was like Sylvia Rome really took a chance, you know. I mean, she could have easily brought in, you know, some other, you know, producers, but she gave me a shot. So I figured, you know what, this is my shot. I got to do the best that I could do to make sure, you know, that it's on point. And she gave me that shot, man. So, you know, a lot of respect goes to her for giving me that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And your 1989 debut album, Chuckii, came out with the hit single, Turned Away. Now, when I interviewed Steve Russell, he had said that Turned Away was originally supposed to have been for Troop, but Atlantic wanted you to do it, and then because of that, you wrote Spread My Wings. So can we get the real story?
You know what? No, that is a true story. I don't know what Steve said, but to be honest with you, from what you just said now, it is a true story. And so I'm going to tell my side of it. Basically, what I did was I wrote this song, and I said, God, I got to do something really, really good for Troop. You know, I got to do something, man, something that, you know, can just like break them out. And I felt at that time I had wrote Turned Away, and I let Steve hear it, you know, and I said, yo, Steve, I said, man, check this out. He said, man, this is the bomb. He said, man, this is what we need, Chuck. This is what we need. And I let Sylvia hear it, and at that time, she was kind of prepping me to do my record, you know, to do my CD, and so she was like, no. She said, we're going to keep this for you. I said, but I did this for Steve and the guy. And they're like, no. She's like, we're going to keep this for you. Write them something else, but we're going to put this one in the tank. And when I told Steve, man, he was so hurt. Steve was hurt, man, because he was like, Chuck, this is a hit, man. He says, man, we got to have this song. I'm like, well, you know what? You got to talk to Sylvia. And she was like, nope. She said, we're going to hold it. So I promised Steve that, you know, I would write something else, you know, on the next project, something of that status. Hopefully, I was hoping. And, you know, it came out, and I wrote Spread My Wings. So there you have it.